This podcast is part of the No Phony Podcast Network, the home of independent awesomeness.
Cool. All right, everybody. On today's episode of On the Road with Jim and Casey, as usual, my wonderful guest that is joining us, Casey, Pierre.
That's right.
And today we have Jean-Pierre Giagnoli.
Pretty good.
The rapper, actor, comedian, impressionist, freestyle rapper, music producer, and parapsychologist, meaning apart from or away from psychology, according to the last definition I read of para. How's it going today?
Good. How about yourself?
Well, I'm doing good. I mean, it was a beautiful day today in Pennsylvania, in Reading, Pennsylvania. Where are you coming out of right now?
I'm in Los Angeles, California. So 6 p.m. we have a curfew because there's rioting going on and it's crazy out here. They're burning stuff. And yeah, that's what's going on in LA right now.
Wow.
I was thinking like, hey, you want to burn Target, that globally owned corporation that's owned by members of the Bilderberg Group and the Illuminati? Okay, that's, next, go for the IRS, okay? Go for the fractional reserve bankers. Go for, the global, like what's the guy's house got to do with anything? And some cars or homes and small shops that's got, I don't know. I don't promote any violence of any sort. But, I mean, if you're going to destroy something, destroy the evil conglomerate global groups that are owned in the one world system coming together at some point soon.
Yeah, and also the system that is unjust and unfair too. You definitely want to attack the roots of the problem. I don't necessarily agree with the destruction, and I'm a nonviolent person for the most part. But at the same time, I understand where it comes from a psychological standpoint of oppression and angst and a buildup of anger of years and years of this happening. This isn't the first time someone's been killed by a police officer and the actions weren't appropriate to what happened. So if you can understand that from another culture's perspective, I think you get a little more clarity of why there's so much anger and animosity. And this is years of buildup. It's not like, oh, just one time it happened and now they're mad about it. So I think it's a really deep-rooted issue and it's complex, and there's no easy solution to it. So
no, you're 100% right. I mean, I wish that the people that were, it's almost like they don't know what they're even, a lot of them that are just burning stuff don't even understand what they're actually, they're like asleep in ways. They're just doing it crazily. But like, if they were awake to where the real system that's fallen underneath this solar system, which is my personal view, is the solar system is the fallen system that we're taught to believe in. That's the fallen satanic dark arts part. If they only knew to destroy those buildings and like get the fractional reserve and all the big bankers that while they see all these, because they're paying a lot of these protesters to do this stuff, and they're all like, yes, do that.
Well, I was going to bring up that point is one of the things that I never hear discussed. And I'm an activist myself. I went to Standing Rock for a week. I've protested a lot of different injustices for many different people. So I'm very involved in the community. And even when I went to Occupy Wall Street in Los Angeles when it was going down, there was dudes in all black, super buff, wearing police type boots, military type boots. And you're asking them, who are you? Why are you here? Are you a cop? And they don't say a word to you. And these people are hired specifically or, paid specifically or brought there specifically to incite the violence. And those are the people that you see causing the most destruction and doing the most damage. And again, when you see it firsthand, it's so different from seeing it on the TV. For example, like when I was at Occupy Wall Street, you would see like some guys playing hacky sack and there would be an attorney like maybe a couple feet away from them. And you'd watch the news, go to the guys playing hacky sack, but there's like professors, attorneys, very important people that are present, that are educated, that are probably well-spoken about the actual issues. And you watch the media specifically avoid certain people at these events too. So there's so much race baiting, propaganda, misinformation, misrepresentation of information. It just creates this big confusion in society, and that's why everybody's just fighting. Like, I'm literally just tired and sad today because I'm fighting with people because I say Black Lives Matter, and they look at me and say, oh, well, all lives matter. And it's like, well, you didn't say that all the time. You're saying it now. If you say, like, I say it because if you look at what's happened and how they feel like they don't matter. Therefore, they're just saying they matter. Not matter more than anybody, just matter. So.
I mean, it's all just, I feel like we're never going to get it. You know what I mean? Like, we're never going to get it all because I understand both sides of it. Like we always talk about on the podcast, like, I understand conservatives, I understand liberals. You know what? Like, it's all what you have to do in that moment. Like, at certain moments, you got to think this way. At certain moments, you got to think. That's why I don't think right or left. I think north and south, man. You got to think north or south because the right or left, because now the new way to divide us is to get us, oh, you want to go outside and work and like, you know what I mean? Like, the people that go out now, it's like, yeah, they it might be a risk to get sick or something, but it seems like the people that want to not lose their home and like starve money, they're like, oh, they're bad. And that, like, it's a new way to divide right and left. It's like, oh, you want to work and go outside and be around people? Well, that means you're over here. Oh, you want to stay home and maybe work because you have a tech job because you're part of the big tech elites, or maybe you're just collecting unemployment. Well, now you're the left. It's just a new way every time. They're like, who's going to be right? Who's going to be left? You'll be right. You know what I mean? It's always this way to divide us. And man, I mean, as a psychologist, okay, so you're into, obviously I love what you're into because I'm all into the ancient texts, the occult. I've read all the occult stuff, the where the spirits come from, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and all that. Yeah. So what got you into? First of all, explain what got you into to the psychology and the spirits and the trying to find them.
Yeah, definitely. So it started very young. When I was 2 years old, I stayed at my grandmother's house, which was a common thing, so it wasn't like new. But I saw my grandfather's spirit, and he had passed away when I was 3 months old. So I didn't really remember him or have a lot of memories of him other than pictures I've seen. So he appeared in front of the bed I was sleeping in, which was his old room that he did have a stroke in. And it freaked me out. I was really little. I started crying and wondering what was happening because, like, I heard him mumbling, trying to talk to me, but I like didn't understand him, and I just didn't know what was happening. As scared as I was, I watched him leave the room and go into the dining room, disappear through the wall. And I actually followed him, and then I ran to my grandmother's room and told her what happened. She downplayed it and said it was a nightmare or something, and I kind of just stayed quiet, but I started experiencing lots of stuff when I was little and seeing stuff. Finally, about 8 years later, my mom, my grandmother sat me down and said, hey, you were young, we didn't want to scare you, but our family kind of experiences this stuff. You know, my grandma, before she came here, when she lived in Italy, she experienced paranormal stuff. My mom experienced paranormal stuff here. And it was like, oh, okay. So that's when I started opening up more about what I had experienced when I was little. And I really just got curious because it felt like I always met people either who believed it and experienced it or didn't believe it and didn't experience it. And I wondered why there's such a divide, it seems like, in humankind, where there's these people who are like, I saw it, I believe it. I don't think it's real, I've never experienced it. So yeah, I just started asking my parents to like give me books on it. I would read different psychology books and paranormal books and ghost stories and all kinds of stuff like that. And I just got really interested in searching for what it was and why certain people experience it. So eventually when I went to college, I did some focus in psychology, a lot of focus in psychology in my early days. And then I moved on to like metaphysics and parapsychology. And in that process, my best friend in high school, we met, he was interested in the paranormal. So we started investigating and going check out haunted places together and kind of learning about it that way. And then in college, I met more friends and we ended up starting a nonprofit and, you know, just investigating the paranormal. We met some people, very big influential people in the paranormal field who are our mentors and kind of taught us the ropes and brought us along. And we just built from there. And now, you know, I'm here. I earned my PhD in 2009, and we're just continuing forward. I even lectured at Chapman University for 6 years in the sociology department on the paranormal. So yeah.
For our viewers out there that might not be into this as much, you have a PhD in parapsychology.
Correct.
And now when you get into metaphysics, how far, what programs do they have for metaphysics in schools for the spiritual side of stuff? And, or is that more of like, again, the occult, the occult eye, what's hidden from the eye, oculus?
Mm-hmm.
That's why they did that to no, we don't want them to know this. It's almost like Jesus said the good stuff, the devil says the bad. Why don't you just know it all? You know what I mean? If you know it all, then you're just like, oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm not going to buy from you, Starbucks. You know, you anti-American or whatever. You know,
right. No, but you're correct. If you really look at it, and most philosophers teach this, knowledge is power. So if you take away knowledge from people, you take away some of their power. So I think it was, because if you go throughout history, there are very spiritual times. At one point in history, metaphysics and science were the same thing. And eventually they split off because science said, no, we only want to look at things that we can that are tangible, that we can test, that we can prove. And metaphysics said, no, there's other stuff out there that you can't test and prove and get certain people to believe in, but it still exists and it's out there. So you had to that.
Yeah, I mean, how many scientists, you probably know this better than I do, how many the leading inventors or mathematicians and scientists that basically teach us, that have figured out geometry or like the calculus and all those trigonometry, especially trigonometry. Without trigonometry, that's very important. Well, because we're in the third dimension, trig, and that's right. The trapezoid of the fourth dimension traps us, right? Because they were like, it's an infinite time loop. But it almost seems like, I don't know, like a lot of them that I read, they got a lot of the math from the science or the sciences from the Kabbalah, and the what's the reverse Kabbalah? It's like the Katapa or something like that. There's a different Kabbalah, and it's like all the sciences came from these people that were all into the dark arts and everything, and that was like the birth of it. But then there were scientists, well, let's see what we can prove with like actual eye and like observing and see what we got. You know what I mean?
Yes, very true. Exactly. Yeah. It is a difficult thing because, I mean, even you have some of the most famous scientists and mathematicians who they haven't come, I guess, just for safety reasons, they didn't fully come out and say things and commit to there are things, but they always said that there's the possibility of other dimensions. There's the possibility of time travel. There's the possibility of these things because they were able to do complex equations that showed other answers than, you know, and they really delve deep into science and math and kind of how it all works, and that there are quantum levels of things that are deeper than we can kind of grasp on our physical level.
Yeah, and quantum quad. I mean, I'm wondering if it's like a 4, because like it's like the look into the fourth dimension because of quad. You know what I mean? Like, because we'll never. That's why it's so hard to for us to picture what a hypercube looks like, because like, you just can't really like wrap your mind around it because we're so used to seeing things 3-dimensionally.
Yes.
And then it's hard. But anyway, so what kind of off the top of your head, like what was like the best? So you go to people's homes and do you like record these things or go places, and like what's one of your most powerful moments of going out and working a job or something, trying to if someone wants to know if their house is haunted or something, or you went somewhere or you felt something, or you had to claim dominance over a spirit, which we have the power to do, by the way, people. But like what was your most like powerful thing that happened to you?
Well, one of my earliest ones, I think I'm saying, we do go, we usually have clients contact us, whether it's a business, a property, a house, an apartment, whatever it is, we go in and we investigate. We have a process where we first give them a series of questions. So we make sure they're sound of mind and they're coherent and they're not, because we've had people that were on alcohol or drugs and they claimed all this stuff. And, you show up at their house and it's like, this ain't ghosts. This is some other demons within inside yourself that you're dealing with.
Right.
I mean, and those are rare, thankfully, because we're kind of on a smaller scale. But, yeah, speaking about it, one of the craziest cases early on that I remember, we were called out by one of my mentors to go out to San Diego, California. And when we were out there, we did this old Victorian mansion that was now a business building. So the story was strange because it was a psychologist had a child client who was mute. But when he came into the office, and obviously for safety reasons, I can't mention names or too many details about it. But he would begin to speak and ask for weird things that the child was not common. And the parents were weirded out, the psychologist was weirded out. So they contacted my mentor contacted us and said, I want you to come in on this case. It's really crazy. So this was the summer of 2005. I was working a grave shift job and also doing some acting gigs and shooting movies. So I went like 2 days straight without sleep because of work and shooting. And we drove out to San Diego, spent the whole day out there doing different cases. And we finished with this case because it was the biggest one. So we go in, we investigate. We had phantom smells. We smelled roses and cigar smoke. We couldn't find any natural sources. We had knocking and tapping reacting to our questions. So there was quite a bit of actual activity that we captured on film and on audio. And then we finished the investigation kind of later in the evening. We were sitting in the psychologist's office describing to them what we captured. I was tired. The psychologist's couch was very comfortable. So I knocked out for a few minutes. I just, 2 days straight without sleep, I just, boom, fell asleep. Now, I don't remember how I got to this point, but I remember feeling like I was awake, but I wasn't. But I was back in time in this Victorian home, and I'm watching a man and a woman struggle with a knife. So apparently, I found the story out afterwards. But apparently, the mistress was trying to get the husband to leave his wife for her. So she grabbed the knife and went to attack him. There was a struggle. He got the knife from her. He ended up stabbing her. But there were also 2 children present in the house when that happened. The little girl was in the bedroom. The boy was standing on the stairs, which is a pretty tall flight of stairs. It's a big mansion. The boy was bumped in the scuffle, and he fell and died, snapped his neck on the stairs. So I'm watching this take place from like an outsider's perspective, but the house looks different. Everything looks different. I had never experienced anything like this before. Now I would say call it an out-of-body experience like most people in the field would, but to me it was just like something happened. As I'm watching the scuffle and I watch the boy start falling, I'm transported into the boy's body and I'm falling. All of a sudden, within a moment, I hear like a snap and I wake up in my body. I'm jolted up forward, like jump forward, but I can't breathe. I can't physically move besides the jolt. It felt like somebody took a gun and shot the top of my head and it went through my entire body. Like it was a horrible feeling to come back in since I was out of my body. And my friend who was sitting next to me is trying to talk to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'd say maybe a good 20, 30 seconds. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. And finally, I got my breath back. I got my I'm coherent again. And I'm just like, "Okay, are you good?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Dude, you look like you were asleep, but you were really still. Like, I couldn't tell if you were breathing or not." Like, he just said I looked really strange when I was asleep, which I don't know if I was or not, obviously, just because of the experience. I just said, "I can't be in this house." I just experienced someone's death. It was one of the worst feelings ever because he was like 7 years old and his life was gone like that in an instant. So I just felt horrible. And I left the house. As we were leaving, my friend's walking down the stairs. He collapses on the stairs and starts sobbing. And apparently the spirit of the mistress who died, like he really got her feelings of sadness and betrayal and whatever it was. I had to continue out and I said, "Look, I'm going to walk out the door. You're good?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, just give me a minute." So eventually he came out of the house. We both refused to go back in there because we were very young. We just started really investigating this stuff. I was shaken up because of what I saw, what I experienced, what I felt. It felt horrible to feel the loss of life so quickly, so young. I almost quit investigating the paranormal. I wanted to quit that night just because how intense that whole experience was. I had never experienced what it was and I still was learning about it. So I was like not too well versed with what had happened. Gave it a few days. I had a few days off of work and shooting and everything else I was doing. So once I finally came back to normal life and was able to calm down, rationalize my experience, communicate with people about it and what had happened to me and learn about what it was, there was a beautiful message in the end from the boy. And it was, I didn't get to live my life. I lost it, but don't lose your opportunity to live your life. Do everything you want with your life. And so it ended up being a beautiful message of live your life to the fullest because I didn't get the chance to. So I didn't quit the paranormal, obviously, and I continued pursuing it, studying it, eventually getting my degree and really, becoming someone known in the field. So that was one of my most, I think, kind of life-changing experiences in the paranormal.
Wow, I mean, that's powerful because it's interesting that he felt what the mistress felt too. It's almost like the spirit, I'm not saying you guys became possessed with something, but I mean, that spirits give us the spirit of blah, blah, blah. So you for sure, I mean, you had an Edgar Casey type of thing where you were sleeping, you know what I mean? Where he could, he would do the sleep hypnosis, or not hypnosis. And then your friend might've just been, having his mind open to get into that. But I really wanted to ask you about, I wonder did you ever have sleep paralysis? I mean, because that's almost like a spiritual event as well, in my undertaking of it. Have you ever dealt with any of that?
As far as I know, I've not, at least that I remember. I can't say I have, and I don't know if at that time it was, based on what I remember from that experience, like it was pretty vivid, so it doesn't jive, because I've obviously known about sleep paralysis, and I've dealt with clients who've had sleep paralysis or people who had sleep paralysis and come to me and ask me if it was a paranormal event. And I don't necessarily say it's not a paranormal event, because when your mind is in a certain state, sometimes it's more open and susceptible to experiencing higher levels of whatever's going on in and around us. So I won't discredit sleep paralysis actually being a part of experiencing paranormal activity or things like that. Like I said, based on that evening, I don't think it was sleep paralysis, because there were other things that I have memories of and occurred to me that doesn't really jive fully with sleep paralysis. But
yeah, I've had sleep paralysis I've had it happen twice. And the first time I was very confused about what was happening, because it's never happened to me.
Yeah.
But as it was happening, it's almost like, you're frozen. For any viewers out there that don't know, that have no idea what's going on, you're frozen and you're awake in a way, but you don't know if you're awake, but your mind is awake.
Yeah.
Your eyes might be closed, but your mind is awake, and you can see the room exactly like it is. It's just you can't move or look. Even your eyes can't even look. Yeah. And if you've ever been hit in the back of the head with like a ball, like a dodgeball or something, there's that like right before it hits you, you hear and sense this like you can hear it just about to hit you. Yeah. And what happens is you're awake, you can't move, and it feels like there's like an alien from Sigourney Weaver Aliens, right, like a demon right there, literally about to devour your soul, mouth open, but you can't look, but you can feel it, like the energy there. And the first time it happened, I remember I couldn't even speak, but I was always raised. I asked Jesus, I believe in Jesus Christ and Yeshua. The Yeshua name is actually, I think it might be more powerful of a name to claim dominance. As soon as I said it, like I was paralyzed. As soon as I said it, I was like, Jesus, and I called just like the power psionically, the connection. And like, I literally almost fell off. I was like, yeah. And I was like free. And I was like, get off me. And I was like screaming. And, but hey, I know people, I don't believe in religions, but I believe Jesus Christ. And it just like, boom, immediately I was free.
Yeah.
It was wild. Case, you had something.
Really interesting. And like I said, I don't discredit the ability for sleep paralysis to potentially be a connector to the other side, because of the experiences and even some scientific tests that have been done in other countries during sleep paralysis, where they captured other evidence that says, well, maybe there's something more going on with sleep paralysis.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a German scientist, or I believe psychologist, did a study, and they used a special camera, and they studied sleep paralysis, and they caught a figure above this woman during sleep paralysis. So there was something actually there during her episode. So that was well documented. So yeah, Germany has really done some really deep studies into sleep paralysis, and that it may actually be kind of a doorway or something to more to the other side.
There's what's crazy. There's nothing new, like even nothing. I mean, we've always heard nothing's new under the sun.
Yeah.
It's like we have everything. It's just you might not know it. And we have the ability to consciously excel above this realm to get out of here. But we're being held back in this system by this system that's fallen and controlled by the fallen one. And like, and it's wild because like, you know, as you said, it's like miracles happen all over the place. You know what? Like science is proving like, it's a spiritual battle. The world and the tangible materialistic thing, that's the thing that's trying to trap you into this system, into this, don't you want that job? Oh, but you want insurance, don't you? And they dangle the insurance over you. And it's like, come, it's, it's like crazy what we're taught to believe.
No, it's true. That's a very valid point and something I'm living by now, actually. I was actually severely abused by my family growing up, to the point where what I'm doing in my life now, 2 years ago, I couldn't have envisioned, because I was really made to feel worthless. I couldn't accomplish anything. And then when I broke free of that abuse and I challenged myself and I took chances, it's so weird. Now when I think of things, it's almost like I'm manifesting it. I'll get a phone call for a project that's similar to an idea I just brought up, or like the fact that I'm actually going after my dreams more powerfully and physically and, mentally, and I'm just in a different mind space. It's the things that I want are coming at me, and it's so weird. Especially we're in a quarantine in a pandemic. I can't leave my house very much. I have type 2 diabetes, so I have to be careful. I'm kind of high risk or whatever. But I'm in this quarantine, like I'm making connections. I'm building relationships in the entertainment industry and making things happen. So it's really crazy that you mentioned that, because it's so true. I broke out of my trap. I broke out of my prison, and it really feels like I broke free, and I'm just like, there's nothing can stop you when you believe nothing can stop you. So
yeah, well, you're exactly right, because when you're going towards good is when you're free to do, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Some people might think that's terrible. Some people might think it's great, but as long as you're not breaking actual moral nature's laws of what God gave us, like, or maybe you don't believe in God, like natural law or whatever you want to call it. Like the evil side wants to enslave, enslave people, have them think one way, my way only, or whatever. But the good people are like, hey, you do you, I'll do, you know what I mean? Like we can all have our own mansions, like Jesus, in this universe, past this dimension, like easily, if we can just understand it.
Yes, very true. I agree.
And so I was looking at, so you do a ton of stuff. I'm a musician as well. I see that you, so what's your go to, all these things I got here? I got rapper, actor, comedian, impressionist. Which one are you at right now? Which one of all these things are you doing the most right now, I should say? Producer.
Just because of the quarantine, obviously there's some limitations with some of the things I do. Stand-up comedy is difficult right now. Acting, like a lot of acting gigs outside. I've done some stuff from home. They're doing a lot of shoot from home commercials and different things, and I've shot a few projects from home. But that is very limited too. I also do voiceover stuff, so I can record stuff from home. But right now, the music has become a really big thing for me. There's a passion project I've been wanting to do for a long time, and something that keeps coming up. So I'm writing, and in a good chunk of it done with a full rap album about the paranormal. So I'm rapping about ghosts, UFOs, all kinds of stuff. And so that is my passion project right now. I'm really just digging in and writing songs like crazy and trying to get the album together. My dad does art, so he's designing the album cover for me. It's going to be spooky with ghosts and aliens and chupacabra and Bigfoot and all that stuff. So that's awesome, my passion project right now.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll send you some guitar tracks if you want to use them. With some octave sounds, maybe like deep, dark, something like repetitive, like maybe some crazy weird sounds.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So what impressionist? What are your go-to? Like, I can only do Rambo maybe on a good day. I've been told I can do a really great douchebag impression. It just comes naturally.
Yeah, so I have quite a few that I like to do, but some of my personal favorites, which are just people love, and I love the reaction I get, is like I do a really good Mickey Mouse impression. So actually, it's funny. I did I used to work at Disneyland for like 10 years. And in my most frustrating times, at some points, I did a full rap album about what it's like to really work at Disney. You know, it's not the happiest place on earth. It's where dreams go to die for us. Dreams come true for other people. For us, it's where dreams go to die. Sorry, not sorry. That's the reality of a corporation. Now, when it was family run, I feel like I hear this story a lot, that it was a lot better. But when it became a corporation and the bottom line was the bottom dollar, it really felt like there's just not as much care for its cast members as there used to be. So that's just a quick tidbit. But anyway, I did this album and I made a rap track where I rapped like Mickey Mouse over a Dr. Dre beat. And everybody loved it. It was killer. I got to a point where a lot of my material was about Disney doing stand-up, and I used that as my closer. And I would close down the comedy clubs rapping like Mickey Mouse. So everyone would just go nuts. So you're like, you know what? You know, I'm like, let me rap if I could describe Disney in any way, it would be rapping like Mickey Mouse over Dr. Dre beat. Matter of fact, DJ spin that. You know, like, yeah, I'm about to rip this shit. Mouse check 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Mouse in the house. And if you have any doubt, I'm on your clothes and your mind and your mouth. And you know what I'm rhyming about. Getting dough in the highest amounts. So yeah, something like that.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I've heard, so you worked in Disneyland in Anaheim,
California, yeah.
Okay. Because have you been to the one, I've heard from insiders, have you been with any high-level insiders at the one in Florida? Because there's like underground tunnels and like all this. Is that like that in Anaheim? Or I mean,
Anaheim is not that complex. It's Anaheim's a lot smaller. I've been to Florida, and working for the company, you learn all the truth about most of the stuff that went on. So yeah, they do have pretty much an underground city in Florida, but that's just because they need to, because they don't. Disney's about maintaining the magic so people don't see the behind the scenes stuff. So in Florida, because it's so massive, it's easier to move things underground than in front of the guests. So they basically have, a huge tunnel system that connects all over the parks so they can transport food and vehicles and all kinds of stuff underground. So yeah, they definitely have a huge, just like literally like a city underneath in Florida.
And Walt Disney, is he frozen in a time cube and meant to...
I mean, look, with how much money he had, I think it's possible, but working for that company for so long and learning all the tricks, I've never really heard that that's true. Most people say no, but I mean, you never know. You know what I mean? Certain things are too high level. I didn't move up that high in the company, so.
Yeah, so what places have you done comedy at? In LA or? Yeah,
I've done a lot of LA. I lived in Orange County because I worked at Disney, so I worked the circuit out there. I was a very common regular over at the Brea Improv. That was one of my favorite spots. I always got booked there, opened up for a lot of names at the Brea Improv over in Orange County. I've done the Comedy Store, Comedy Union, Ice House, all those pretty big clubs in LA. So yeah, I've definitely been all over, and I go in and out because you notice I do a lot of stuff. I really switch focus depending on what's hitting or what I'm passionate about at the moment. So sometimes acting takes the forefront and I only focus on that because I get gigs. Sometimes music takes the forefront because that's taking off and I want to focus more time on that. So I switch focus, but they're all my passions. And my dream is to do all of it like fully as my career. And that's what I'm working at right now. So
you were recently in Ford versus Ferrari, correct?
Yeah.
How did you get involved with acting?
I've been acting for a while. I really started drama in high school. I started performing in junior high in choir because a counselor suggested I do some extracurricular stuff because I was kind of introverted and shy back then. And that kind of gave me the taste for the stage. And it was cool because I was introverted, so I was protected by all the other guys in the bass baritone section. So I was like, okay, I don't have to get the attention. But then I enjoyed performing. I always felt comfortable on stage. And when I started doing drama and everything else, I enjoy the creative art form, whether it's singing or acting. And that's where it started. I grew up watching Johnny Carson and Saturday Night Live. So I learned a lot of my comedy and humor from those type of shows and the comedians on there. Just really love all the arts, and acting was fun. And when I did it, people said I did good. So I just kind of kept pursuing it. It was funny. I took like a 5-year hiatus from acting actually before Ford versus Ferrari. I was spending more time doing stand-up comedy and my music. And literally 2 days after I decided I was quitting Disney because it wasn't fulfilling my needs as a creative and it wasn't giving me the opportunity that I wanted, I said, I really want to quit and go after my dreams. literally, and this is that magic, that stuff in the universe we don't understand. 2 days after I decided I'm quitting, I get a random call from a casting director. Hey, we found you in LA casting. You look real Italian. We have this period piece. I want to know if you want to be a part of it. I'm like, sure. They called me back a couple more times. Do you speak Italian? Yes, I do. Oh, that's even better. Do you know about cars? Yeah, I've done a lot of work on my own car, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of car stuff. Cool. So I went in for a fitting, and it was kind of like more featured work, but I ended up getting really bumped up, and I did a scene with John Bernthal at the beginning. It's supposed to be in Italy in a factory. I'm working on the engine. I'm the final guy assembling the engine, and John Bernthal and I have an interaction. And it was great. You know, I was directed by James Mangold. He's a big director. So as a young actor, especially someone coming from abuse, it helped boost my confidence as an actor because, you know, this is a major movie and I'm getting directed by a huge director. I'm doing scenes with major actors and I'm like, yo, this is really cool. So I did about 2 weeks of filming. When I quit my job at the end of that 2 weeks, and then I had about 2 weeks where I was doing nothing because I quit my job. I get another call from casting. Hey, do you want to do another month and a half of shooting? We're going to bring you in for the Le Mans, you know, final races, and we want you to be the Ferrari pit crew. So I ended up being one of the 5 main Ferrari guys who spoke Italian, and we, you know, did a lot of stuff with Matt Damon and Christian Bale. You know, filled up the Ferrari cars when they came into pit stop and all that. So yeah, I did a total of 2 months on shooting, 2 months of shooting on that movie, and it was just such an experience. It gave me such confidence. And even, I think it was not just the fact that I have that on my resume now, but it's the fact that it boosted my confidence that I started getting so many more acting jobs after that. I did commercials, TV shows, a bunch of different stuff after I did Ford versus Ferrari. And it was like, wow, look at, like, my abuser made me believe I couldn't accomplish any of this, but yet I have no support, no job. And I'm over here like procuring all these acting jobs on my own, really. And I have an agent too that helps me out. So, you know, obviously that's a good thing too. But yeah, so that's kind of the acting thing for me right now. And everything's kind of on the back burner, but I've got a few films in the pipeline whenever restrictions get lifted because of COVID. I'm gonna be shooting a couple more films. There's one I shot in October that's being released digitally pretty soon on Amazon. And I actually got an original song on the soundtrack of that movie as well. So that was a really cool thing, kind of double dipping there.
Very cool.
Oh, dude, that's especially getting your music in too. You know what? Like, why? In my own personal belief of things is like you got all these opportunities thrown at you because you know why? Because you have the treasures of your heart inside, and you're just pursuing them. Mm-hmm. You know, God gave it to us to pursue the things that we love. You know, and that's why obviously they're going to use you for certain things. By the way, I wish I spoke Italian. My family's from Italy too, but nice. I never learned it. I never learned it fully. How many you had how many lines did you have in Ford versus Ferrari? Like several scenes or one scene?
Several scenes. I had a line, but it got cut. Unfortunately, it's a Ford movie. So they really, even though we did 2 months of shooting, we had a lot. They cut a ton of stuff out. So yeah, I had a line, it got cut. But I mean, that's Hollywood, to be honest. Coming back into it after a hiatus, like that was a huge accomplishment for me. And like, you could see me on the movie poster. Everybody picked me out. Everybody saw me in the movie and was like messaging me like, dude, is this you? Because I shaved clean and everything. So, because it was based in the 60s, so I had to fit the look. But yeah, like, you know, everybody starts somewhere, you know what I mean? It was definitely a stepping stone. And I got way more prominently featured work from the other jobs after I had that job. So.
That's awesome.
How did you like? Okay, well, first of all, you just said that's Hollywood for you, and I have to say this: Hollywood, the holly tree, was what all the dark arts people use. It's why they call it that. It's why we have holidays and like everything. I mean, hey, Hollywood, they got some cool stuff and everything, but it is deception. It's all just like look over here, and then over here they're just like, but.
True. It can be a very difficult place to be in. Like I've had experiences when I was younger. Like I was telling my friend this the other day. I met the director of Jeepers Creepers when I was doing a tour of a haunted location. If we wanted to investigate it, they were looking for a spot to shoot a movie. This guy came up to me and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm looking at maybe investigating this place." And he's like, "Oh, you're a good-looking guy. Do you act?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I actually do." He's like, "Oh, I'm the director of Jeepers Creepers and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he has all these young guys around him, good-looking guys, like blonde hair, blue eyes. And he's like, "I'm going to have my assistant give you my info and, get in touch with me." I'm like, "Okay." but I don't just like, I do a lot of research before I get involved in stuff. So I go home, Google this guy, look him up, and I find out like these horrible things about him. Like he in the 70s was on a movie set and like molested these boys on the movie set. He went to prison, and Francis Ford Coppola visited him every single day. And I was just like in shock, and I literally just crumbled up the paper and threw it away. I'm like, not worth it. I don't feel comfortable, and the way he talked to me like made me feel a little uncomfortable too. And I was just kind of like, no. So talking about Hollywood being like that, I've encountered a lot of shady people and had family and friends who had certain connects tell me not to use those connects because they were shady people. So
right, like I mean, how could it not be? I mean, you can tell what they're into by their belief. You know what I mean? Like their belief is bad, and like, hey, you can like I said, you can believe in magic and the dark arts. You can do that, but like that's gonna probably lead you. You can believe in God and Jesus too, and you can all be bad. I get it. That doesn't make anybody better than the other person. But I mean, I'm just saying, a person that believes that might be a little more likely to be more do harm to someone else's rights than a person that, well, at least I know that's wrong. I'll try not to. I might still do it, but at least I know it's wrong,
But also another thing too, on a more human level, even though, yes, I agree with you on that completely, there's a human aspect to it where people who have money or influence have the ability to get away with those things more than an average person does. So if you have enough money, you can just pay someone off to not talk. Or if you have enough power, the people who were victims are too scared to speak out because they know the power and influence you have. So there's a human aspect to that evilness that they use the status or the money to take advantage of people. So
right. Dude, Jean-Pierre, we had such a great time, man, talking to you. So before we wrap it up here, I like to end the show with each guest that basically just gives all of our viewers and our listeners something they can put in their pocket to keep, and then maybe in the future they'll pull it out and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I have this piece of advice or something. What can you give to, I don't know, I mean, anyone that speak life to somebody, something that is going to help them. Obviously you just gave it all up. You're like, you know what, rich or poor, I'm going to be me. I don't care what this system thinks of me. If they think I'm a loser or I'm a winner or I'm poor or I'm rich, I'm going to do my own thing and just build my own happiness my way. So what's your advice to maybe people that want to pursue literally anything? I mean, like music, acting, art, ghosts, podcasts, whatever.
Yeah.
What advice do you have?
Yeah, no, I think the advice relates to life. So we don't have to say entertainment. I mean, man, maybe a lot of people want to do that too, and that's fine. But whatever it is in life, what you have to do is just do it. Don't think about the money. Don't think about the time it's going to take. If you think about all the things that will hinder you from doing it, you'll never do it. Just think about the idea that you want to do it. That can get you through. It's really weird. There were times when people doubted me that literally a day after they said something about doubting me, I came back with like a handful of jobs after not working for a little bit. And I was like, you just doubted me, and guess what? I just got 5 job offers, So the idea is forget everything, forget what people think, forget what may hinder you or what you think will stop you or what you think you look like, what you think you have to offer. When you do it and you're authentically yourself, the right people notice you. That's what it's about. So just do it and throw everything else away.
Be you.
Great advice, Jean-Pierre. And thanks a lot, man. This has been fun. And tell everyone where they can find you and on all your website and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So my main website is www.mcpierre.com. That's the letter M, the letter C, PIERRE.com. And it prominently displays my music, but you can find my comedy, my paranormal, and all my other stuff, stand-up comedy and all that on the website and my bio, and learn a lot about me. Sign up to my email list, all that good stuff. And social media is Talentedid. That's talented with the extra ED. So at Talentedid, that's talented with the extra ED. And I do a lot of my stuff on Instagram. I have a really good following on there. So yeah, that's pretty much my main info and where you can find all about me.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, had a great conversation. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Thank
bud.
you so much.